Hello, and welcome to another episode number 4 of the Tulā Community Podcast. It's been a little bit of time since we've been here, probably about a couple months since our last episode. And so we're back and ready to share again with you. In this episode, I talked to two people. It was our first episode where we talked to two people at once, Alina and Hope. And talking about the organization that Alina had started and has started called When I Becomes We. And this is a non-profit organization, and she'll share, and both of them are going to share about this beginning, this start for them, and what that looks like, and what they're working towards. And it is wonderful and just very inspiring, as you would imagine. I had met Alina quite a few years ago now, probably about 7 or so years ago, working at Sage Natural Wellness. So anybody in Vancouver or the Lower Mainland, you may have heard of Sage Natural Wellness. I'm sure you have a rough idea, but if you don't know, it's a wellness company, and they have locations all over the place now, all through Canada and into the States now. They sell things like essential oil products and natural products, really wonderful things that they've got going on there. So if you haven't heard of them, that's that. And that's how I know Alina. And I've watched her journey just as a friend, seeing her grow this and kind of start When I Becomes We a few years ago, and then take a little bit of a break as we do, because you can't always apply yourself right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to kind of get organized, and we talk a little bit about that and what it takes to do your own thing and start your own thing, and sometimes how you have to take a step back and kind of look at it a little differently, see where you need to go, how are you going to do that, and yeah, so I'm very happy to see that she's back and full force and going right back into this wonderful thing that she's created. So last thing, if you would like to feature your business here on the podcast, we have a few episodes coming up in the next few months, and just looking for people to feature small businesses, small creators, anybody who does any sort of good work in the world. We're very happy to share at the beginning of the episode what you've been up to, and if you'd like to reach a different audience, I'm happy to share that for you. So please message me or contact me. You can email me. It'll be linked somewhere if you would like that feature. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy listening. Well, let's get started. Sounds good. Let's just start. I'm with Alina and Hope here this morning, and let's just start with both of your names and pronouns. And I would like to know maybe your both of your kind of definitions of wellness, but maybe also how that comes into play, like how you take care of your personal wellness. So whoever wants to start can go ahead.
Sure, I'll start. My name is Alina Emery. My pronouns are she, her, and I would define wellness. Oh my gosh. You'll know this journey has been a long one.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get there.
Yeah. Yes. But definitely an encompassing of like a holistic perspective on who you are as an individual and as not just a physical but a spiritual.
Yeah.
So whatever that means to you, whether it's like religion or meditation or, you know, something that really fills your cup that's going to make you feel like you're able to pour that cup over into others.
Yeah. Right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you find that you are able to, I guess, take care of yourself? Like, yeah, does it fall into that? Is it like obviously a lot of different areas, and yeah, how does that come into play?
Definitely. That's such a tough question, I think, when it comes to thinking about yourself and wellness.
Yeah, right.
It's hard. I'm going to be super honest. I think it's challenging for everyone to really prioritize wellness and do that overflowing into others because half of the time you're just empty or you're half full.
Yes.
So I think that When I Becomes We is a really great opportunity for doing exactly that, of pouring into our community though. And I think as I get older, I'm learning how to fill my cup up more regularly and make that more intrinsic into my like day-to-day life and just regular and not forced.
Right.
But yeah, definitely When I Became Zvi is one of my, it is my passion project. It's my baby. It's where my wellness lies, and it's never empty, honestly. I think it's hard some days to push, but I have such a phenomenal team that helps make sure my cup is full, and so that overflow is easy with that. But on the individual level, it can be tough. It can be tough for sure.
Absolutely. And you know, like I was thinking about it because even when I talked to my counselor or something, I had said to her, like, to me, there's no reason that you know, just became a counselor like out of nowhere. You know, of course, like you have this inner drive to either like help people or potentially like it's coming from your own experience, your childhood, where you're like, I need to help fix this, or I need to mend this, or whatever, you know. And so I find when you're in any sort of like wellness role, you have a hard time maybe potentially even taking care of yourself, because you're coming from this place of like, I want to like help, and I want to make this better and whatever, and then it's very easy to forget about yourself in that, because you're like, I just want to make people feel good, and I just want to like help heal the population and all those things, you know. And it's very easy to just like let it all slip and like run from like an empty cup, so to speak, right? So
absolutely.
I feel you. I understand. You know?
I'm sorry you feel me. I wish it was a different narrative, but
Oh no, I love what you said. It's so hard to like help others and be proactive in the community and pour yourself out and give to others when you're not funneling that straight back into yourself. And doing that for yourself.
Oh yeah, you know.
It's impossible, really.
It is impossible, you know, and I've experienced it in like the wellness community, or maybe even the yoga community or whatever, and like people that are working as like teachers or healers or whatever, that they are very strong in their beliefs, and it inspires me a lot to be like, okay, I like can't give anything right now, and like I don't have an offering, I don't have the energy, I don't have the like, I'm not feeling great in myself, so how could I be expected to like help or give? And like setting time aside to like stop, because as we know, like I feel like in society now it's like go and like do so much. Yes, exactly, you know, and yes, operate from like an empty cup that also doesn't have a lot of like self-awareness or self-knowledge, that you're even potentially empty at that point. Like you have nothing to give, but you're gonna keep going. And I find that the like love and offering or healing that you can give from that place isn't even that great anyway, because you're just like, I don't have much to give right now, you know. So it is good, I think, to like take a step back and be like, I can't give right now, you know, like it's just too much for me. Like it's good to take a break from your burnout and whatever. But anyways, Hope, you can introduce yourself.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We got
went on a little tangent, but no. My name is Hope Lompe. My pronouns are she, her, and wellness to me, my own personal definition of wellness is connecting back to your core self, who you are when you strip away all the different parts. Like for me, I have an anxious part, I have a jealous part, I have an angry part. I also, all these parts of myself that kind of muddy the waters of my core self, which is kindness, which is love, which is empathic. And for me in my wellness journey, it's been doing things that connect me back and that get me behind all those layers and get me to my core self. So it could be anything, like exercise, like moving my body, connecting back to my spirituality, surrounding myself with other people who are also going on their own journeys, who are centered towards bettering themselves and are on perpetual journeys of improvement rather than, you know, like staying in a negative toxic place. I find like the people I'm around, I didn't even know what wellness was before I met Alina, if I'm being perfectly honest. So funny. This was, I was like, I just didn't come from that place where it was talked about in that way. So yeah, she really like showed me how like it doesn't matter like what walk of life you come from.
Yeah.
You can sort of like explore this and like.
Right.
Yeah, and that was really amazing. So, yeah.
And to add, she's done a phenomenal job of applying it into her own personal life and really adopting that like
Yes.
wellness side. If anything, I look at you sometimes. I'm like, how are you
Thank
doing
you.
so much? But
Yeah, like, what the hell? Like, I taught you this.
yeah,
Yes.
what is it?
Student became
yeah,
that.
exactly, literally, yeah.
Well, it's really sweet. It's so
Yeah.
nice, you know? And like I find too, like in those things, like I think obviously, yes, we all have those sides of like, you know, something that I guess is maybe more like low energy or like negative, so to speak, like being anxious or being jealous and whatever. And like, I guess obviously the teachings from that and the fact that like they're not really gonna go away. Like those aspects of yourself won't fully go away, but like how can you like move forward from them and like how can you learn from them? And even I find this generation has the ability, more so than I find like in maybe our parents' generation or my parents' generation of like being able to like see that that's happening in yourself. Because I think that that's already like the just recognizing like, oh, I'm being like kind of mean right now or I'm being jealous right now, whatever, you know, that is really big. And I think it's a lot big. Like to me, it kind of comes naturally. I'm aware. I'm like, I'm not feeling very nice right now, but I don't think that that's something that everybody is like carrying with them or has the ability to. I think they have the ability, but they might not be even recognizing that in themselves, that they're like acting from a place of jealousy or like of envy or whatever, you know, just kind of doing things kind of unconsciously going through life. And so I feel like, yes, it's really like brave and wonderful of you to be like, yes, I have these like aspects of myself and like, will I heal from them? Yes. Am I healing from them? Yes. Are they gonna go away? Maybe. They'll like lighten up a little bit, you know, but like being aware that they exist is like a massive feat, I find.
Yeah, I find it really helpful to think of maybe the more negative or things about myself that I'd like to change as those are just parts of me, they're extensions, they're not who I am at my core.
That's it, yeah.
And it helps, like when you remove your identity from that, if you don't center your identity in the worst parts of yourself and instead center your identity in the best parts of yourself, like that has such a massive impact on your mindset going into everything that you do in life. And so, you know, a lot of therapy. But you get there eventually.
No, it's good. It's good. Yes, a lot of therapy is very good. Big fan.
Big fan of therapy. Everyone should go to therapy.
100%. Right? And if you can't afford it, get a student therapist.
There are alternatives.
There are alternatives, you know. So that's like a route that like a lot of us have gone. Well, it's a route that I like. I'm like, yeah, I'll go that way for sure. Just like anything to seek support, obviously, you know. Okay, there's so much to touch on already, which is really nice, but I want to kind of get, I guess we'll probably come back to it because it all connects, obviously, but I guess for both of you, but like Alina, I feel like I've known you 2015 maybe is probably when we met, roughly. And I feel like it was only like, I could be wrong, but I feel like it was only a few years into like being connected with each other that I think you had started when I Becomes We.
That year.
Right. Oh, was it really?
It was, I think, that
no
year.
Way.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you go. All right.
It was all Whitney. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't even know wellness before Whitney came into my life.
It's just like a branching gap.
It's all from Sage.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that organization or that company really helped shape who I am, and like it's weird to think that, but I took so much away from that experience of working there. So a wellness company based in BC, you know, it's really amazing. But it was 2015. 2015.
Okay, so then I remember, I think that you were starting to get the ball rolling. I don't remember. I think you made an Instagram. I'm pretty sure there was an Instagram that was there. And I think you started, but then I don't know, were you still doing school or like you stopped? What was the thing? Like, because don't get me wrong, I'm not coming from a place of like, what the hell, you stopped. I like started a lot of things and like, you know, didn't finish them or like started things and like I like chipped away and then I came back to it years later. Like, you know, Tulā's been in the works for like 8 years. I have notes like from 8 years ago being like Tulā, like, you know, but I never I wasn't maybe ready or whatever, or I didn't have the knowledge or like the confidence or whatever. So I'm wondering if that's where that's coming from for you.
Yeah, this is so interesting because I feel like Tulā then and When I Becomes We are very similar in
Right.
its like nurturing to where it's at.
Yes.
But yeah, it was an Instagram page which is still around at When I Becomes We _ but
We'll tag it.
tag it.
Okay.
But it was essentially a place where I was focusing a lot on wellness and a lot on how are we taking care of ourselves, that cup
Yes,
concept, and
yes.
how are we really able to give back to our community somehow
Right.
through that cup.
Right.
And I think towards, I don't know how many years into it, maybe 3, I realized like my cup is empty.
Yeah.
And where is this page really going and how am I really making an impact?
Yes.
So it was one of those, let's take it back to the drawing board kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And then, when did we start working together?
2020.
And you
2020,
two,
so
like,
I'm-
you met at school or like it was?
No,
actually,
okay.
I'll share that story.
Let's
So,
start there.
similar to how I met you through Sage,
Yeah.
I met Hope through working at a pediatrician's clinic called
Oh.
the Kids Clinic. Follow
Yes.
them as well. They're phenomenal. They're
They're
great
great.
pediatricians.
We'll tag it.
Yeah, and essentially that period of time in my life, I was really focused on bettering myself and also going back to school.
Yeah.
And so I really felt like that period of time, I mean, post high school, people are always like, what am I doing with my life? You know,
Right.
where am I? Who am
Yes.
I?
Yeah.
Your
And
early
I-
20s are gone.
Oh my gosh, such a good show.
Right.
And I think that at the time when I met Hope, I really went through so much shedding and so much
Yes.
renewal. And I
Yes.
think I was going through a breakup or post breakup at that time. And it really launched me into like, I need to figure out who I am as an individual.
Oh yeah.
And through that, I went back to school, finished my degree in peace and conflict studies, and really wanted to apply that into the community.
Right.
And so I did pause When I Becomes We during that period of time because being a student, working full time,
It's a lot.
you know, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
And so now it came to exactly where we're at in regards to like, you know, a nonprofit and focusing on the needs that the community are really struggling with and needing kind of support with, which we'll talk about in a bit, of course, more specifically what we do.
Yes.
But it was a long journey, and the journey is, I feel, exactly where it needed to take me, and whether it was challenging, which it was, or, you know, difficult in ways that, you know, I never thought I would have to experience.
Right. Yes.
All of those experiences come into, I think, exactly When I Becomes We and where it's at.
I was gonna say, and I feel
Yeah.
like when you're trying to host something or create something that is like, you know, of course centered around, you know, wellness and and helping to, you know, support community and all those wonderful things, like you have to go through it to like get there, you know, and it like becomes, it's really fulfilling. I'm sure that you find that already. Like you find that there's like there's a lot of joy in like doing something that's from your heart and like being connected to a small team where everybody knows each other and loves each other and all of those great things. But it will always have avenues of like challenge and difficulty because you have to kind of navigate new things as you go along in this growth that you personally have coming together with that, and then sticking to the goal, the vision, the ideas, and all of those things, and then little by little as you chip along, like something new's gonna come up, and you're like, okay, I gotta figure it out now, right?
And I think that that's what happened with like the origin of When I Becomes We. I had to let go of like
100%.
that individual wellness to a certain extent and
Yeah.
focus it more into like wellness for the community as a whole. And what is that? And where is that focus needed? And how can I really support that? Because something that really we like to share as our story is I really wanted to solve every world problem that there is, whether it was homelessness or addiction issues
It's
or
too much.
it was
It's
too much,
broadly,
you know, like the environment, like there are so many things,
right.
and especially with the George Floyd incident that happened and everything unfolding with that, I think that was a huge catalyst for me to really think like, we need to do something, and I can't do this. I'm not the expert in this. I'm not a black individual, you know?
Yes.
So how can I look to communities who are already doing that work? And what is the need that they're needing for like support and needing for backing, you know.
Right.
So that is really where that creation came to. And I remember sitting at the kids clinic with Hope, talking to her about this and being like, what am I gonna do? And she's like, you'll figure it out. And like fast forward to 2-3 years
Looks
later,
like we figured it out.
We figured it out together along with like the rest of our board. So shout out to Cyril, our social media marketing director, and Sean as well, our research director, and Carter too, who's our administrative director as well.
Right. Yeah. So sweet. It's so nice, you know. And I find like too, like in this way of wanting to like mend every problem, you know. Of course, I think a lot of us feel that way. I feel like, you know, you see like an injustice, obviously, and you're like, I gotta fix this, I wanna make it better, how do I make it better, you know, and like, recognizing that like you're not, of course, maybe the, like I've had that moment where I'm like recognizing, like, I'm not the best for that, like that's not really my like specialty or my expertise or whatever.
And that's hard to do though.
And it's hard to do, and so you're like, okay, I gotta leave that, you know, but I also feel like, at the end of it all, I find that like, everything obviously is connected, you know, and like as beings and with the world in and of itself, but as human beings, we're all like connected. So of course you're always going to want to like mend some sort of issue, even if it's not the place that you have the most knowledge on or whatever, because you just feel for the being, you know, like it might maybe something to do with like helping indigenous communities around. Might not be your expertise. Maybe you don't carry that lineage with you. It might not be the area. But of course, do you like feel, you know, bad and like you really want to help this situation? You know?
Like I like to think of when I becomes we as its core is coming from an extreme place of humanity. Like we are focused on the humanity, and at the end of the day we're looking at people, humans, people's daughters, sons, children. We're looking at people who are being massively affected by systems, by greed, by any number of things. And can we change the world? Can we fix everything? No, but we can make as big of an impact as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
We can take the resources that we've gathered and work together as a team to see how we can make the largest impact with those resources. And that's the goal of it all.
And find the people that are on the same page as that, you know, and that's a lot of where our basis of volunteer matchmaking comes from is let's find those people who feel exactly that way of, you know, there are indigenous issues, but I'm not of indigenous rooting, or you know, I don't have that much knowledge on it, but I want to learn. And connecting those individuals with organizations that are looking for exactly those people that want to help, that want to be allies, that want to put their money where their mouth is, literally, of like, let me get hands on and let me make a difference. And I think that that's really scary. That can be really scary if you're coming from, you know, whether it's a white ancestry or not connected to indigenous issues or even with black issues, whatever it might be. It's hard to approach somebody and be like, I want to help you, because there's so many angles to it, right? So we're really hoping to kind of take that out of it and say, you know, here's somebody and here's an organization. Let's make that harmony work and make that impact happen. And less, I'm not sure, I don't know, like maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should. You know, the passion is still there. It's just there's blockages.
Absolutely, you know, and I feel like I have a rough idea of like what you two or the 5 of you, I think there's a team of 5, is that correct?
Yes.
Right now? Okay. What you're doing. I've like read some things, I have some idea, I have some knowledge, but I think it's a good time for maybe both of you to share what your goals and like mission is, basically, so that everybody listening can know, but also that I can gain like further understanding as well of what you're kind of chipping along with here.
For sure. So we're essentially a volunteer and nonprofit organization matchmaker is what we're calling ourselves. So
at the moment,
and
change.
Things can evolve, things can change, but right now that's really what we're basing on, and that's our mission and our vision of wanting to ensure that we find folks who are, or volunteers I should say, that are passionate about cause-based issues, and we find those organizations that align with those causes and put them together, basically.
Right.
Something that we have noticed in the volunteering world, it can be very murky. So, you know, you can go into an engagement or into an opportunity and either you don't have anything to do, so you're kind of sitting, you're not doing anything, or you're engaged and there's something that's just not fitting or not feeling right, and you don't have anybody to go and talk to because they're all within that organization. So when I Becomes We is sort of, we'll have representatives that will match those individuals with those organizations and also be point of contact for both parties. So let's say the organization's like, you know, this volunteer I think would be better in a different organization or whatever it might be. We will manage that with the volunteer and say, hey, you know, like we have other opportunities, or vice versa. You know, the volunteer experience is something that may have been uncomfy or may not align with their values anymore. We'll basically take them out of that engagement and then match them with something that feels more aligned or feels more fitting. So it's less paperwork, if you know what I mean, especially because you're signing up to one organization and being matched to an array of different places
that maybe are not a fit for them specifically.
Yeah,
I suppose,
and we're focusing on people's skills and their passions.
Yeah.
So, you know, if someone wants to volunteer, if they have graphic design skills, for example, and they're really passionate about the environment, like, okay, let's find your place. Let's
right organization.
Yeah, let's find an organization in the environmental space that needs a graphic designer kind of thing. So we're being very practical in our approach, because ultimately what we want to do is relieve this task of finding volunteers that burdens a lot of organizations, it's a lot of work. We hope to take that on for them so that they can focus on what they're doing in the community, so that they can focus on their cause and their issues that they're hoping to address. So we're really here to support and uplift organizations that are dealing with the most
so much
we're talking about impoverishment and marginalization,
and the weight that the people working there carry from having that.
Totally. A lot of these nonprofit organizations carry the weight of their cause on their shoulders. And if we can in any way take something away, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do, and that's how we're hoping to serve the community.
There have been a lot of studies done by Volunteer Canada, Statistics Canada, and Volunteer Connector on the decline in volunteerism post-pandemic. And even a little bit pre-pandemic, to be super honest. So I think it was Statistics Canada mentioned 65% of previous volunteers had essentially stopped or declined significantly in 2022. So that doesn't change that organizations are still needing volunteers.
These people,
Exactly.
Yes,
And if anything, it's increased. Grassroots organizations since the pandemic have almost doubled. And I think that that's really important to recognize that, you know, there's still a need there, and why are organizations struggling to fill that volunteer gap. A lot more studies also with, I think it was Volunteer Connector put out the shift in demographic. So you'll have a lot more of the baby boomers, and you know that generation that's actually stopping volunteering and focusing more on their families and focusing more on themselves and just taking care of themselves, their wellness. And now there's a gap, And I think that gap is going to be filled by the newer generation, and that is basically that they're hoping to have more cause-based volunteering. They don't want to go and lick stamps, or I mean that could definitely be part of a role, but they're really wanting to do that with a mission behind that's going to match with who they are and their passions and their desires, that they want to help change the world, because that's really, really prevalent right now. So we're hoping that will be where we can kind of take those two pieces and match them together and help kind of support in that method.
Because and it's not only that, the Volunteer Canada has noted a 33% reduction in programs and services offered by nonprofit organizations as a result
they're not
of the
doing
decrease.
volunteer programs as much, kind of thing.
There's
The
been a
organization.
reduction in their services. They can't do as much because they don't have the
They're
manpower.
overloaded with stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And
right.
you can look outside, you can walk down the street.
Yeah.
We know that there are needs and that
Yes,
we are in
right.
no position right now to be reducing programs and services. If anything, we
Right.
need more.
We need these programs.
We need these
right.
programs and services, and we need them to be at capacity and doing what they
Right.
can do, but they can't do that without people.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and we are fairly new. We're fairly new. We're startup,
Yes.
grassroots ourselves, and so we're doing a lot of this research,
Yeah.
learning together,
Right.
and we're really relying on, again, the expertise that the organizations that have been here for years, or even that are also new and hyper focused on whatever cause that they are focusing on,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
are really the experts, and we're just learning from them as well. So that's something that
Yes.
we're always going to try to keep as a part of When I Becomes We, that we're here to like learn, similar to you with you know
Yes.
all the different people that you're interviewing.
Right.
We really want to learn from those organizations and share that knowledge with our volunteers.
Right.
And listen, and
Yeah.
maybe what we thought was what they needed isn't what they need, and then we can shift sort of our focus a little bit.
Right.
You know, keeping that listening ear open to the needs of the community, which are ever changing.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
They're not stagnant.
Right. Right. I think it's a very important gap that you're bridging, obviously, and I wonder, like, do you find that the kind of I have a few things, your motivation, I guess, to like create what you have created and do what you're doing, is it from you being in like non-profit organizations, or you being a volunteer in your life where you've like seen these things, so you're like, okay, I've experienced what this is like, or I know that this is an area that needs help because of like my first-hand experience? And do you find that, like, do you think that the volunteering pool, so to speak, has like gone down because maybe the economic situation right now, so people potentially have less time to volunteer, like don't want to give their time away for, of course, not getting any monetary gain back from that? And is there a way that maybe, because I find sometimes with volunteering, a lot of times people are just trying to fill volunteer hours that they have to do for something. Do you ever find that? Like, is that something you've experienced? Because I feel like I've seen that before, where it's like you have to do, you know, a certain amount of hours to be applicable to this thing or whatever, you know? And so is there a way that you in the organization are identifying ways where you're also finding volunteers with good long-term almost intentions, so to speak, not just people that are like come and go, whatever, you know, because it can be really flighty volunteering and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think I can speak to most of that.
Right.
Yeah. So
A lot of questions there.
Yeah, in regards to the.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's
Okay.
great. You're excited, and that makes me really excited.
It's great.
But yes, so definitely throughout our board, we've all had our own individual experiences with volunteering, whether that be, you know, at a nonprofit or elsewhere. And I think that through that, we've kind of gathered all of our experiences and really said, you know, this is where the focus needs to be, and it's on ensuring that that volunteer and that organization have somebody to go to say, hey, this might not be a good fit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a better fit for someone
Yes.
else, and
Yes.
we don't want that volunteer to feel discouraged and be like, well, forget it, I'm not going to volunteer.
Right.
You know, there's going to be another
I
opportunity.
think that's easy to happen in this environment, because sometimes, like you said, when you're volunteering, you might feel left out, or that you are you're bored, or that no one's giving you a task or whatever, you know. And so, yes, I think it's easy to like. Because I think I've had my own experience, and I think we all have, not even just around volunteering, when you go somewhere and you're trying it out and you're kind of nervous and you're new and you don't really like it, or you don't get treated so good or whatever, and then you never go back.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like going to like a restaurant that you got bad service. You're not going to go back. You know, it's the exact same. It's at the core of it's the exact same. It's the feeling, it's the experience, it's how everything was handled, and then you're like, okay, never mind this place.
And we hope to collect that feedback from volunteers, and then we can bring that to the organizations and say, hey, like this was their experience, and maybe let's change that so that your retention is better.
Do you find that people are here, like, are organizations getting that knowledge already? Is that something where another area that you are, you know,
that is something we
first at,
want
maybe?
to like break into 100%.
Yeah, right.
Because we have experiences and we have knowledge on how they can retain their volunteers.
Right.
And that is something long term, correct me if I'm wrong, Alina, that we would love to do. Like, we would love to be able to provide that education to organizations as well. And obviously, if we get feedback from volunteers, like Alina said, we're the interpersonal communicator. We will share that feedback with the organizations. So
it'll help them. It'll help them progress, right? The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm also a volunteer engagement coordinator for Vantage Point, which is a nonprofit organization as well.
I've seen that.
And they have been around for 80 years, so they have a lot of knowledge, they have a lot of experience.
Right.
Super proud to work there. But also just to say there are some organizations that do not have a volunteer engagement coordinator, and so that causes that issue of like, who does that volunteer communicate with?
I was gonna say, who does that fall on in the organization? Who's already like doing their other role, you know? And I found that in the world, not just in this area, but I found that where people like know their role, they know their career, they know what they're supposed to do, but then these workplaces just give them other kind of tasks, and then they're like, well, how am I supposed to handle it? What am I supposed to do with this? Like, I can't handle it because I'm already supposed to be doing this other thing, you know? And so it you know, begs the question, like, why are the volunteer stuff dropping off the opportunities and stuff? Because there's no one to handle it, right?
Well, that's something that we also really emphasize with our organizations during their onboarding is position descriptions. And it's important for us to have, you know, what is this volunteer going to be doing in the time that they're with you? And whether that's a 2-month period or 2-week period, whatever it looks like, having those clear deliverables so that we're able to say at the end of that period, hey, did the volunteer do a good job? And hey, did the organization come back with you and like really support you in those deliverables? Versus licking stamps and you know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
I didn't know.
It's fine, but like you really want that transparency, and I think that can be difficult when things are not clear or set.
Well, especially if you have a volunteer, let's say with, I'm going to use the graphic design example again, and you have them sitting around licking stamps.
Right.
That's not what they should be doing.
Yeah,
right?
Skill.
That's not their skill.
Their skill,
That's not. They have this skill that they very well could get paid for, and they're graciously offering to volunteer their time.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the other thing. There are it's not just students. It's not just high school aged people. It's also skilled professionals that want to get involved and want to use their skills to better the community.
Right.
Just like for myself, I am a journalism student. I'm completing a bachelor's in journalism, and my passion for volunteerism comes from a place of just being inundated with news all day and seeing what is happening in the world and seeing what's happening in the community, and being on the front lines of media reporting and going to those places and seeing those people. And I think anybody with a shred of humanity within themselves sees that and just can't help but want to do something.
Yes.
And so that's people from all walks of life.
Right.
Like, of course, yes, we do want to cater to students who need to get their volunteer hours. That's very important, and we are absolutely want to do that. But we want to encourage people who have like other skills to sign up for organizations so that we can give them tangible results, like tangible things that they can do.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes I find too, like, it can be, like, I've found in myself in Tulā that it's really important for me to like do free, so to speak, obviously work, you know, because that like helps me move forward. It gets me like connected. If I offer like free photography to someone, that's good, because now I can like, they're gonna share that, and it's like a good way for me to gain some more skill, but also gain some more exposure with other communities. And so I find like, if you're like a graphic design, even student, like it's a great place for people to like volunteer, teach themselves that they can do it, show themselves they can do it, build some confidence, and then also connect with this community who may have someone who is involved in that's going to hire them down the road. Like, I find a lot of things are just planting seeds, and I think a lot of the times people don't want to do free things, because that's fair. Like, you know, it can be scary to like want to do that or whatever, but if you view it as like planting seeds, like I've seen how things I've planted maybe 8 months ago, how they're coming like, you know, to fruition, or like they're growing or sprouting or now, you know? And so I think also maybe potentially flipping the script on like maybe initially what an individual might think of when they think of like volunteering, or that they're like,
or even community building. Community building is it's a wonderful thing, but it is a buzzword, a buzz term, and it gets thrown around. And I don't think people actually know what it means.
I know.
Like, when we say that we're community building, like we are cultivating relationships. We are solving problems. We are talking to people. We're listening to people. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Like it's a real thing that you can grab onto and see the impact of. It's not just a nice thing to say.
Well, it's like the connection. Right? Like we wanted to create those bridges towards being in a community, not just being a part of a community.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Not just like so easy to lift out, but like how a community obviously would grow with this individual and their value.
Yeah, I think it's important to also mention, and this is coming from like a place of advocacy as well, that like volunteering is a privilege.
Yes.
If you don't have the time to be, giving your time for free because you're working 3 jobs and you're trying to pay your rent or whatever it is and put food on the table for your family, we recognize that.
Yes, absolutely.
And there are also cultural understandings towards volunteering, that it's just something that you do because you're giving back to those who are in need, or giving to people who need support, or whatever it might be. So there's so many pieces to volunteering that we know are complicated, and we know isn't just going to be like so like we're just going to match people and that's that. There is a lot more fundamental rooted issues in volunteering, and almost like a colonial perspective towards it, where it started in the UK, and like there's a lot of history there. So I think that we want to really make that clear, that volunteering isn't just something that like anybody can do, because there is a financial gap there. And so it's challenging. It's challenging on so many avenues, but we really want to work with our community to find a way that we could maybe give those folks who don't have the time because of the 3 jobs an opportunity to give back in a meaningful way that's both a win-win. So we're just chipping away. We really want to mention that like that's on our mind too, and that we just need to kind of start and see where it goes and work together.
And like how can we work with organizations to provide inclusive opportunities, like maybe even virtual opportunities for those who don't have the means to leave their house and travel into the city for something like that. Like there's lots of ways that we can include people who couldn't otherwise be included in volunteer opportunities. And there's a lot of ways that we can have those conversations with organizations, so that no, not everyone can, but for those who want to but can't because of barriers, how can we relieve those barriers?
Absolutely.
Like in remote areas too.
Like remote volunteer work, or
well, remote volunteer work, but like to access in remote areas of British Columbia, for example.
So physically going there kind of thing,
so instead of having to come down to, let's say, volunteer for When I Become Sweet, it can be a virtual opportunity, and if those folks are able to access, remote opportunities, they can work in their remote villages or like areas, So I think that that's also another area.
Well, that's another, like, I feel like another beautiful thing that you're like aware of and gapping, and that you're seeing differently that maybe another place isn't seeing, because that's another thing I find also in like our younger generation, where we're just able to access things a little differently and like view things differently. They just have all this technology at our fingertips to be like, okay, how can I also harness this as a means to like connect with people, obviously, but give people opportunity, things to do, things to keep busy, ways for them to keep their mind active, all of those wonderful things, and being like aware of that, because I find obviously sometimes too with any job or any career, you get like blinders, you don't become like overly open after a while. Because I was gonna say to you earlier, when you were saying that you were taking a step back from When I Becomes We, and you were like, I'm going through all these things, and like how am I helping? I don't know what to do. Like I've had it a few times with Tulā where I have to step but I have to step back, and people are like, oh, you shouldn't have to take a break if you're like passionate about it, or like, you know, and you should keep moving because of like, you know, hustle culture, whatever, all those things. And I'm like, no, because sometimes I get cloudy, like, you know, I'm so close to it. It's like having to obviously take a bird's eye view to be able to like understand the map, understand the web, bigger picture, like see where there's different ways to do things, different opportunities, connect with other minds, and like, how do I make this work? And like, I have this thing, but I don't know how to do that. Can you help me? And like, you know, all of those things. And it's important. I find it's important to like to take yourself out of things for all situations in life, not even just your career or your business or whatever it is. I think it's important, like in your relationships, in yourself, in all those, like, just like to remove it a little bit and just view it for what it is instead of getting like so caught into it. You know, like it's like how people say in relationships, like you might not see the issue in your relationship, but your friend does because you're in it. You're the one that's like involved. You're the one with the feelings, all those things. Yeah. When you have an organization, you've started yourself, your business, you have feelings for it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You love it. Like you said, it's your baby, it's your child, like you don't see it the way somebody else would, or see another great thing that's coming along the way that someone's aware of, and it's beautiful that you have a team to be able to turn to for those things, right?
Totally. Right? Yeah, I think that the entire board has just been so phenomenal at being able to see those like cloudy bits and being like, hey, like what about this though, you know? And we hope to do that with the organizations and the volunteers we work with, because they're a part of our team. You know, it's not just the 5 board or whatever it is. It's everybody that steps into this space. You're a part of it too, in a way, you know. So I think that making sure that that inclusivity part, which is one of our values, is really, really, really strongly prevalent in anything that we do. And something I always tell our team, and I have to remind myself often, is like we don't want to be rushing anything. We don't want to be coming from a place of deficit or a place of scarcity. We want to come from a place of flow. We want to have things feel like it's just
very
organically working. And I think up to this point that has been a phenomenal value for us.
It's very good. It's very good because I see that a lot with people operating from a place of lack with any area, you know, but especially if you're trying to grow something, you can't do that. Like I feel very strongly about that. I'm like, no, I need to operate from a place of like abundance, flow, natural, whatever, because if you're like sitting in a place of lack, it's just not, it's not great for your mind either, or panic.
Like if you're panicked and you're like, I have to do this now, I have to get everything now. It's like a sense of immediacy that doesn't exist.
Well, and you might not create something very wonderful or worthwhile or even valuable, or you might even scrap it later down the road because you didn't do a great job initially because you were operating from panic and worry and like stress and whatever, and you're like, I don't even like this. You know, and now I gotta do it again. I don't even know, you know, then you get more panic.
Exactly.
You know, like, what am I doing, right?
And I think that there are certainly some cases that the urgency is necessary. And I'm actually thinking of other organizations who don't have that ability. It's almost a privilege where we're at to be able to be an organization that's really mindful and really taking their time and not trying to rush anything. But there are organizations who are in a need of crisis and they do have to work under that type of a pressure to be able to meet the needs of the people they're helping. So wanting to also mention that there's so many pieces to the nonprofit sector that again we're dipping our toes in, and we're really excited to keep learning and continue that knowledge building. But we need organizations to partner with us to do that. So if you're an organization that is seeking volunteers and wants to partner with When I Become We, please check out our website and reach out to us.
So
we would love that.
Oh, love it. I love it so much. So nice. I was gonna say if you'd like to share any of because you have your laptop here, you're ready for it with information.
Exposing
and if I
us.
haven't touched on anything, it's okay. No, it's good. It's a beautiful thing to like come prepared and also to like be passionate and like care about what you're doing and like all of those things. So if I haven't asked you anything, I think obviously it's important that we touch on some things, or if there's like avenues that you want to kind of like go through, I think that's important because like I don't know anything about what you do actually. Like I know what you do, you know, like I'm learning here, but I don't have much experience myself in like nonprofits or anything like that. So if you feel that there's like information that people and myself need to know, then you're welcome to share that here.
Yeah, I'll let you go first if you have anything.
I feel like you've done such a phenomenal
Oh,
job
good.
of like having it organically like just come out in conversation.
Right.
And, you're doing such a beautiful job
Well,
with
thanks
the
so
Tulā
much.
podcast, and
Right.
we're so grateful to be a part of this experience with you.
Right.
And for the opportunity to get When I Becomes We out on a
Oh,
podcast.
yeah,
So
right.
cool. But yeah, I think just that we are doing our outreach in the coming months, and we hope to have more organizations become a part of When I Becomes We. If you are an individual who has a nonprofit kind of hovering in your mind, we do have a link where you can submit information on an organization we should outreach to.
Well, that's very good.
Yeah, so definitely anybody. It's like a low commitment way of helping in the community. So if you visit whenibecomeswe.org, you can access that under our Get Involved page.
Right.
But yeah, what about you? Anything?
I just want to say that When I Becomes We would not be what it is without Alina. And she seriously like handpicked each of the board members and brought us together, and has like made intentional efforts to cultivate relationship with each of us individually, and has made intentional efforts to bring us together as a team. And without that, we would not be in a position here where we're even an organization at all. Like, she's
Right.
a beautiful soul and a phenomenal leader, and if you sign up with our organization, you're going to be in very good hands.
Yes, right. I do believe that. I know that. It's a lot of work, you know. It's a lot of heart. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of work. It's like, to me, I don't know if it's the same, but I imagine it is. It's like 14-hour days, like sitting at your laptop, putting things there, updating a website, fixing things. Obviously, handpicking people that you trust with your visions and goals and all of those things. And like, Hope is speaking the truth here. You know, it is a lot. And like, hold that space for yourself, because that matters. And it's not. I think we're in a culture where there's like, or a time where there's like a lot of people doing their own thing, but not everybody kind of lasts doing that, or not everybody. Not to say it not for everybody, but not everybody has that in them to like push forward and like go past and like not give up when it gets like tough, or when it gets hard, and when you don't think you have the resources, when you don't think you have the knowledge. It takes a very special like mind and heart and soul to like go forward and like keep trucking through all those things, you know. And so there's that recognition for both of you, you know. I was gonna say, if you don't mind, could you share the names of the other people on the board and what they do, and just hold a little bit of space for them too?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna just say, like, I couldn't do it without my board.
No,
They're really like my
know.
anchors,
Right.
and like, it is something to say, like, when you have a good team backing you, it's easier to hold space for yourself. And I think it's challenging for any you know, founder, executive director, whatever it is, but I think having a phenomenal team to basically hold your hand throughout the process is really, really lovely.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, or like, you know,
crying for
what are we deciding, because I can't, you know, and I think that like you said, having a group of people that I really trust. So shout out to Cyril LaRosa, who is our social media and marketing director. So she takes care of everything that you're seeing on the socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And she is a great person to connect with if you are wanting to do something like the design that you were mentioning.
Yes.
Or wanting to work with socials in general. We also have Sean Wang, who is our research director, and he helps with basically everything that we need to like learn about. Stats or software or
He's the everything person.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
He carries a lot of really like tidbit pieces, but yeah, he is great as well if you want to learn more about When I Becomes We as a whole. And then we also have Carter Hayes, who is our administrative director, and he takes care of all of our Google Workspace stuff because it is a
like
lot.
SEO related stuff.
Forms,
forms,
sign up forms, our spreadsheets, our
Google
budgetary
Drive.
things,
Right.
And so that's our board, and then obviously the wonderful Hope Lompe, which is here with us today, who's our communications director.
Yes.
Do you want to share about what you specifically do?
Yeah, so I facilitate basically all the outward communications from the organization to the public. So I oversee like stuff like the newsletter and things like that, and really just ensure that all of our outward communications to the public like reflects our values and our mission, and that it is aligned with who we are, and just keeping that flow, making sure that across all socials and wherever we present in the world, that we're uniform.
Right. Yeah, that's very important as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of things.
And then there's me. And I'm
Alina.
just here. I'm just here for a good time, not a long time. No, I'm just kidding. Just overseeing all of our projects, really focusing on engaging with our organizations that we're going to be partnering with, and building those relationships with our volunteers in the organizations.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Sign up for the newsletter that me and Cyril made.
Okay.
Also have the newsletter links.
Yes.
We're going to just have links. The
Just
description is just
How many more plugs can I throw in there?
Do a lot. Why not? I mean, that's a lot of the point here too. To share. So if you do have, and also I do this like after the fact as well. Like if you think of a good resource, I've had people they forgot the book name that they were talking about or the organization name during the podcast or whatever. So if you think of something, we added on later and all of those things. But yes, if there's any other information or any resources of right now that you want to share, we can do that.
If you want to get regular quarterly updates on sort of what we're doing and get
then the newsletter.
then the newsletter's the place to go.
the main one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And our socials, of course.
And our socials.
Socials, things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. So sweet.
But
Wow.
this was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing so much time and space. It's so sweet.